Welcome to Off the Rack, everybody. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
This is our comic book review show that we've done for only about a couple of 5 or 10 years. And we're going to be talking about comic books that came out the past week. And we're going to review them and tell you what we thought about them and then recommend comics that are coming out this week that we think that you should buy. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the comic books. We want you to buy them and keep them from, disappearing. And, if you like your comic books, if you have a favorite comic book or comic book creator, follow them and buy their stuff because it's the only way they're ever going to keep doing it. Because I have learned too late in life that some of my most favorite creators of my childhood, eventually weren't part of the industry anymore and ended up having to do like real people jobs, and something more terrifying than that. I remember there's an episode of The Tick, the animated series that is, where Tick is forced to live his greatest fear.
Okay.
And of course, the fear is that he is doing a desk job at an office.
Are you saying that Night Terror's tie-in for the Joker was stolen from The Tick?
I mean, so much of our modern superhero parodies owe a lot to Ben Edlund and The Tick and Richard Liebman Smith for their irreverent and superlative humor. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about. I don't know why I'm wasting it vamping right now.
I thought we had like news too.
We do. We have news, reviews, and so much more. We also occasionally talk about Marvel projects or DC projects or comic book projects that are out. The Invincible show, for example, just got season 2. We didn't watch it. Loki season 2 is wrapping up this week. Haven't finished it. And there's so much more. The Marvels coming out next week. We actually were invited to go see it, and we didn't.
We never. It doesn't work out because
it's always Wednesday.
Yeah, it's usually when we end up filming or we're doing something, so it never quite works out.
It's true. If they wanted to, they could just send me an effing invitation. Like just do a screener in New Jersey, man. I'll go to that maybe. Actually, it's not true because I mean I saw Blue Beetle down in like Princeton. Mm-hmm. That was further away than going to Manhattan. No, I would have been like, no, I'm not going there.
No, that's you 100%.
That's true. Well, no, actually, if it was Princeton, I'd be like, oh, well, I know a buddy down there, and I will give him a call.
That's true. Well, that's very true.
I'll be like, hey, you want to go see the Marvels early? He'll be like, no.
Hey, actually, I also know someone down there.
Yeah, you do. Hey, that would be great.
It's not the same person.
See, this arbitrary place in New Jersey I picked out, they could definitely just set up their screeners there, and then either one of us could go and bring our respective buddy and then go see them and then have an outside perspective.
Oh.
Right? Wouldn't that be interesting? But that's not part of what we're talking about today.
We did watch The Fall of House of Usher.
We did watch The Fall of the House of Usher.
That's a pop culture thing.
Yes, Mike Flanagan's latest opus before he departs Netflix forever, The Fall of the House of Usher, 7-episode miniseries.
8 or 9. I think it's 8.
Is it 8? Okay. In any case, great show. Really another classic.
Really
Mike Flanagan.
If you're a Poe fan, you might dig it or not because you'd be like, "This isn't."
If you are a Poe fan, you love it because it's so rare to get any kind of Poe anything. Occasionally get like a really lousy horror movie about it or something.
Yeah, it was kind of a lousy horror movie.
It wasn't great.
It wasn't great. People were acting royal.
Did we see that one with John Cusack playing Poe?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Was it The Raven?
I think it was The Raven. I think that's exactly the one you're talking about.
I don't know if that is. It's just like there are just like fragments of memories, and my brain's just like, that's probably it. It's like I'm trying to solve a Jeopardy,
solve a Jeopardy
answer. I was trying to get. I was like, it's not a question; it's the answer.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Where it's like you use the clues from that and like the random knowledge you might have, and
to piece it together. Yeah.
Anyway.
Apparently, John Cusack was not Poe in that movie. That's weird.
No, I think she's thinking of a different movie.
Okay, well, in any case,
I didn't see The Raven, if that's what it is.
That's fair. The Raven, it sucked.
No,
so
she's thinking of the pale.
Yeah, the pale blue eye.
Yeah, whatever it is.
It's a completely different movie, but also featuring Poe. And no, John Cusack does not play Poe in the pale blue eye.
Anyway,
that wasn't bad.
It was fine.
It was fine. It's very, very boilerplate.
Acting really well. Well, let's talk about some news because there was something you definitely wanted to.
Big news, big stuff going on. Big doings in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. According to a Variety article that dropped not too long ago, the House of Ideas, I don't think they call that anymore. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is in trouble. More specifically, Marvel Studios is in trouble because if you hadn't guessed, Marvel Studios is really good at making one type of movie, and they overextended themselves during the pandemic during a really bad, tumultuous period, and it completely screwed them over, and it's put them in a position where they have to reassess. That's essentially the long and the short of it, is just kind of like reconfirming, like, yeah, the greed and desperation of movie studios resulted in inferior product. And when I say greed, I mean just the proliferation and propagation of erroneous, extraneous, and unasked for streaming services, namely Disney Plus. Disney Plus and its appearance on the scene force a movie studio to try and make TV shows, which they don't do. And I still say that they resent, and that the people in charge of production at Marvel, who were forced to make television shows, not that they sabotage them directly, but more that their lack of respect for the format and their desire to only make movies was in and of itself a sabotage that made a series of inferior products. But that's all that's conjecture. None of that's in the article. The article is more specifically about, like, Marvel's been in some trouble, and they're trying to figure it out. First of which, nothing to do with the pandemic, but Jonathan Majors, hot water, constant accusation, impending trials, all that stuff. It's causing Marvel to have to reassess, which which would be the case in any regard. We were just talking about this at DC not too long ago. It's just that DC was in the process of, they were still in the throes of an acquisition, and they were also rebuilding their entire universe from scratch behind the scenes and replacing everybody at the production level. So, like, yeah. And also Ezra Miller, is an idiot. That doesn't help.
No, absolutely.
But Marvel, Jonathan Majors is this issue, and and I say issue because that's a very good blanket term, because I don't want to say one way or the other whether Jonathan Majors is innocent, guilty. Again, in the American justice system, innocent until proven guilty. But if no one's going to go see your movies, that is a problem for movie studios who are hitching their entire wagon to you. So they're trying to figure out what to do with the Kang of it all. And I've always maintained, number one, why did you pick Kang? You literally just did an entire, like, finale of one phase, or all the phases of Marvel, hitched to time travel.
Yep.
And then your next villain is all about time travel?
King of time travel.
What a stupid idea. Secondly, Kang sucks and is boring, and I will die on that hill.
Yeah, but they're like clearly they're trying to be like, no.
No, Kang's cool.
There's definitely time travel, but like it's kind of more or less, it's less about time travel.
More about multiverse.
Multiverse is just
multiverse.
Shut
Which
up.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I get the multiverse thing, and I get the appeal, because I mean, it worked one time for Marvel, and it was a Sony property. Actually, twice. Actually, now that I think about it, Sony Spider-Verse, that's theirs entirely, but Marvel, it worked for the Sony production of No Way Home, and that, I think, resembles more what Marvel was thinking of, where it's like, let's play the hits, let's get some older actors in on this, and let's remind people about what they liked when they were children,
right?
And tie it in with our current universe. That's their idea for multiverse.
But
no, Kang is their multiverse plan. And he's been seeded throughout many projects, Loki and the Ant-Man 3 disappointment. And that's it.
Wasn't he in Guardians?
No, that was the High Evolutionary.
Yeah, that was. Okay.
Who was way better and
I was
awesome.
like, no, who did I really like?
Yeah, no. Well, that's because you're thinking
here's the thing. I thought Guardians came out last year.
No, it was this
I know, that's
year.
what I'm saying. Like, for some reason, like, Guardians 3 has slipped out of my mind in a way that I don't understand, because it's like I can very distinctly remember Rocket and the little animals and the 70s spacesuit.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. But I was convinced it came out in 2022.
Right.
And then Ant-Man came afterwards. And
yes.
I was like, no, wait, Ant-Man came out.
Yeah.
Which I distinctly remember coming out because I hated it.
Because it was terrible. Yeah. It was just a mess.
I didn't hate it.
There's nothing that I
was
really
disappointed because of how much I enjoyed the first Ant-Man movie.
And the second Ant-Man movie.
Ant-Man movie, again, kind of made me forget it as well. But yeah. So it's like I have post Ant-Man, I have really spotty memory about Marvel stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. That'll do it. I mean, one epically bad production. Then there's also Thor 4, but I think that was 2022. So
right.
But again,
wait, did they kill the High Evolutionary?
Yes. No, they didn't kill him.
So
they could bring him back. And one could also fudge it and make the High Evolutionary a variant of Kang. That's one way of doing it.
No, don't do that. Don't.
I think that's lazy.
I think they should just, if they wanted to lead in the High Evolutionary, let that character stand on his own, because
he's awesome.
I do recall the powerful like level of performance.
Mm-hmm.
But again, my brain couldn't remember if that was because of Rocket being sad and me feeling bad for him,
It's
because
both.
I really hate animal violence.
Yeah, right.
But yeah.
No, High Evolutionary is just great overall. Like the actor involved is amazing.
Good. Then my Phantom, like,
because we loved him in Peacemaker. He also plays the head of the team in Peacemaker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he's great in that too.
And that came out obviously, like last year.
10 years ago.
Based on my sliding scale of when anything comes out.
Yeah. So I agree. I think the High Evolutionary is a fantastic villain and has loads of potential. I think that obviously James Spader has no interest in playing Ultron again, since he, that is to say, Ultron reappears in both What If and in the Marvel Cruise films that they've produced. Neither of which are voiced by James Spader, but I think if it was a movie, he might come back, because here's the thing: he's a robot and he's an artificial intelligence, and he could have beamed his consciousness into space and make Ultron into the Ultron of space.
Right.
That would be fun. I would love to see Ultron again, repeating any big villain that didn't really get a chance to do something awesome, or didn't get a chance to do enough awesome things. There's plenty of opportunity, especially in the Marvel universe where there's no shortage of them.
Yeah.
But they need to reassess. So the question is, what do you do with Kang? How do you fix this ship? Now, obviously, they announced Avengers 4 Kang Dynasty. That was the name of the movie. That was the plan. You could throw that out originally. I think one of the Captain America movies is going to be called the Serpent Society. I think that was all subterfuge. They made that up. But the point remains. They have named things. I mean, look at the Agatha Harkness. It's changed names 3 times.
Yeah.
Which is a show that shouldn't exist.
No.
But
No.
you could just change the name if you don't want to do Kang anymore, or just recast Kang.
Well,
he's the easiest person you can recast.
He is, because he has so many like variants. And yeah, they could easily do that. Now I'm not looking for spoilers.
No.
So please don't tell us how Loki ends.
Yes, we're 2 episodes away from the ending.
Don't do it. Don't ruin it for anyone else who also hasn't caught up.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't think they're going to do it. But like, my pitch was to make Ke Quan, Ouroboros, into Kang.
Right. That he's actually like Kang Prime, or he's like a Kang variant.
Yeah, that it was just like someone else, like a pretender, essentially trying to be Kang.
Yeah.
Like the Kang that we have seen in the movies was someone who just was like, took advantage of a situation.
Yes. And it's like, actually the real Kang is this like almost unsuspecting, timid character who we've seen in multiple projects have extraordinary range and be wonderful.
Incredible.
So why not?
I kind of just want him
in more things.
Yes, like, I don't care.
You don't have a lot of like Ouroboros projects for him.
Yeah.
But I love that idea. I think that should make him Kang, and then just go ahead with the plan as per usual.
Yeah. But I mean, you could just recast or just give up on trying to make Kang work.
Yes. And that's where the article from Variety, which is where this all started, kind of led towards, is that Marvel is also thinking, well, what if we just went with Doctor Doom? Like, what if we just went ahead with Doctor Doom? Clearly, if you're going to do Secret Wars, which was your plan, it's a 2-part movie.
Right.
And again, none of this is written, none of this is made, none of this is prepared. So them saying 2 years ago, oh, Secret Wars is coming out in 2025 and it's going to be 2 movies.
Yeah.
It could be, actually, no, it's not. Actually, it's not called this. And actually, it's 5 movies. Like, they don't know, and they're making it all up. So there's nothing to hold them to these self-imposed restrictions. But presumably, if you're going to make a movie called Secret Wars, or 2 of them, Doom's going to be in it. So Doom needed to be introduced already. So what are you doing? So yeah, there's a precedent, at least in terms of their artificial guidelines, to set up Doom already anyway. So why not cut to the chase? That being said, I'm concerned with the rushing of all of these things. But I've always said that the best Marvel is a desperate Marvel. And I think that this could lead to some great stuff, because Marvel has always worked best when their back is up against a wall.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. Because I almost feel like they have to just kind of like see some of this through.
Yes.
And just start trimming the fat
just
as they go.
Yeah.
And then like not fast track Doom, but like be like, we have to learn from what we did.
Right.
And then move forward.
Yes. Just, okay, you know what? We're not going to, make Doom phase 6 or something. We're not going to make Doom the big bad of the next Avengers movie, but maybe we'll cast Doom.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Doom will be a post-credit scene in
Yep.
the Kang movie that isn't going to be starring Kang anymore. Like,
Right,
who knows what the reason is? But they do need to establish, because and what's frustrating is this is also on the heels of them announcing that they were like, the new Daredevil show, we shot 5 episodes, we're throwing them all away. We're going to have showrunners, we're going to have pilot episodes, we're going to have all the things that real TV productions have to. How about just stop? How about throw that all away and just stop making shows? They're not very good. You know, you don't like making them.
Yeah.
You're not equipped to do it.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a great opportunity for you to learn how to get into the TV biz. Just stick to what you're good at and do it well. And maybe you won't burn your effing audience out in the process, you know?
But that seems to be them across the board over there. And that, like, maybe this is less of a Marvel problem and more of a Disney issue, because like they're definitely doing a lot, right? You know, even when you look at their other franchises like Star Wars, like they're doing a lot, and there's like varying enjoyment of the results.
Yep.
Right. And then you have some shows for, like, you know, there's clearly a lot of care. And even if right now the Loki plot from what we've seen so far hasn't really hooked me, I can't help but appreciate the quality of the look of the show.
The quality of the show
actors
cannot be overstated.
Yeah.
It looks good. The premise is fine. The acting is good.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of good that is not working against the show, unlike its you know, colleagues or you know, the other Marvel TV fare.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that in terms of also like Andor, a show that you and I really didn't want to get like try.
We didn't want to watch.
We were just so burnt out. But like it's just a different look, and like there's definitely a different care to it, and it's almost like they don't care about it as much. So they just let the folks who want to run the show do what they need to do.
Yeah,
just do whatever.
Yeah, and Andor ended up being the best Star Wars sequel I've ever seen outside of the original trilogy.
Right. So like I feel like it's just kind of an overall problem.
It is.
Especially because it's not just the Marvel Studios that are running this.
You know,
they're answering to others.
Yes, a higher power, so to speak. And this higher power is also looking to line their pockets, and they're fighting against the inevitability of, you know, AI and actors and writers and fairness and equality and stuff like that. So yeah, they already have their hands full with trying to usher their 100-year-old studio into the 21st century or 20th century.
Right.
And they, you know, and also they're telling creative people what to do. You know?
And it feels like also they're too there's a little bit of it feels like a drank their own Kool-Aid kind of thing. It's
Absolutely.
like we can make anything interesting. And it's like, I believe that you can.
Yeah.
But like you had to really work to
get there.
You had to really work for people to be like, oh, Iron Man, especially comic book fans. And people who didn't know, they're just like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. thing. Maybe I'll check that out. I haven't seen him in a minute. What's he been up to? Like, oh, what's this whole like superhero thing? But you had to work for that. And it had nothing to do with interconnected universes when it launched. It had nothing to do with you know,
expectations or big ideas. It was just, here's Iron Man.
Right. Or building on the idea of like having a trilogy necessarily. Like you were hoping maybe there was going to be a sequel and you set yourself up for it, but who knows? That could have been the end of it.
Yeah. Well, and that was also during a time, it's interesting, you think about like them, like Marvel kind of putting the cart before the horse or rushing into things. Iron Man 2 was fast-tracked big time after the first Iron Man, and it was a split audience. You know, there were some people who thought that it was like disappointing compared to the first one.
Sure.
I love that movie, so I'm here to tell you, like, you know, it's not necessarily even the rush to production that is the problem. It's about, I think, like, and I think you're hitting on something. It's about the attitude and it's about the ego. The Variety article also cites things like, you know, when they had their Palm Springs meeting, normally it's full of like glad handing, back patting, and circle jerks. And in this particular year, they were like, what are we gonna do? And it's like, yeah, man, you spent $25 million in a single episode of She-Hulk. What are you talking about?
Well, I think that's part of the like thinking they can do no wrong and thinking that the audience would be there forever. And I know a lot of people have been crying for like the idea of like superhero movie fatigue or just genre fatigue, right? And that could be it. I am a big believer, the more I think about this, in the idea that you basically told the average movie-going audience that it was okay to leave.
Yes.
You made a movie called Endgame.
Yeah, they broke the comic book rule. They broke what Marvel and DC have been very good at not doing, which is giving people a jumping off point.
Yeah, you literally went like, well, we hope you'll stay with us, but
especially because we have no plan and no like expectations. Like that's the real problem is that like after end, like, they were like, we put so much effort and money and time into making Endgame and getting to there that we didn't think about what the next phase was, to the point where they were like, oh, there are no more phases. We're not even saying that they're phases until they
yeah.
did, because people were like, well, no, we are going to start calling them phases anyway.
Yeah,
But
no,
like you to the point where the post-credit scene for Endgame is just a little victory lap, just them
yeah,
being like, yay, Iron Man,
right.
clanging.
No, I very much believe that they told the average movie-going audience that it was okay.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there was a global pandemic, so like,
And the panic
that's
didn't help.
that's a very different element to this. But like, regardless, I think they would have lost a percentage of the
Yeah.
audience just because you said, "Hey,
It's over.
Thanks for being with us."
Well,
I appreciate
especially
it.
because they're there. Like maybe the audience was largely there for Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, and Chris Evans. And they're like, they're
Yeah.
out. And it's like, okay, well then goodbye.
Exactly. And I don't know if they understood how much they, I mean, I think they did understand how much they needed that audience, but how much that it wasn't going to be as easy to pull them back in after you told them to that it was okay.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned this before. I have a coworker. She is not who you would think of as, she doesn't read comic books. I don't think she's ever played a video game.
Mhm.
Like, just that's not her thing at all.
Yeah.
Right. And we get along well enough, talk about, whatever. She's lived in the same town I lived in at one point. So it's like we make conversation. And I was talking about something and she was like, oh, I'm going to go see, I think it was Endgame, or it was I don't remember.
Infinity War?
It might have been Infinity War. I was trying to think of something in between. She was trying to decide if she was going to see something, but it might have been one of those two.
Mhm.
And I was like, what? She's like, oh my gosh, I love Iron Man movies. She's like, I love Robert Downey Jr. I love those Iron Man movies. She's like, I've seen some of the other ones too, but like, I love those Iron Man movies. They're so much fun.
Yeah.
She's like, please. And like, that's what it was. No, it was Infinity War, because another coworker of mine got forced to go see it, and she spoiled something, and she was so upset about that. And I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
you're going to see Iron Man movies, but I guarantee you she's not going to see Quantumania.
Guardians of the
I
Galaxy.
doubt she went to see Guardians 3. She definitely didn't go and see Eternals, and she's not going to go see Marvels, and she's not going to go see whatever comes next necessarily.
No.
Because she's done. She saw the end of that story.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the characters or the people playing them, or like, any sort of like, agendas or anything like that. Her story's done. She's done with that story.
Mm-hmm.
And they can bring Iron Man back and she may not go see it.
That's right.
Because she has her finality.
Exactly.
You told her to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, good. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Right.
She's never watched any of the shows.
Yeah.
I don't even know if she knows they exist.
No, I mean, it's keying into a problem that like Disney also, it's funny that Disney has the same problem over and over again, because as we've said, and I think I've said this ad nauseum, the fact that like Star Wars, the more specific you get, the more your audience you lose. The more narrow you make Star Wars, the more wide, the less wide your audience becomes, because Star Wars is not science fiction. Star Wars is a like fairy tale.
Yeah.
And people love fairy tales, and people will go see them and line around the block to watch a fairy tale.
Mhm.
But they were not lining around the block to buy books. They were not lining around the block to buy, blueprints or, 3D models of Star Destroyers. Like that's a cottage industry, and it's an industry to be sure. And it's one that makes money. The Star Wars license makes a lot of money. Legos, for example, that's a very big property. But again, that also taps into a different genre, which is Lego builders. So like Star Wars is not, you're overthinking it. The point is you're overthinking it. But with Marvel, it's the same thing, where they're like, don't overthink it. Your audience at large is here for the movies.
Right.
They're not going to get a subscription to a streaming service that they don't need to watch the nitty gritty. But that's also a wonderful opportunity. And that's the problem, is that like, then it could, because you're even halfway creative, it's like, you want to, here's an idea. Here's one for free. Where it's like, the shows should be the nitty gritty. The movies are the big ideas. The shows are the smarter, more cerebral, more narrow, more specific, fun stuff that maybe would be, we were just talking to Cy Spurrier, and he had a great suggestion about continuity. And you should watch that episode, even though the audio syncing is off.
You can listen to it.
You can listen to the show. It's really fantastic. But Cy mentioned the continuity, and I don't necessarily agree with him wholeheartedly about his belief in continuity, but continuity should at least be an Easter egg. Continuity should be a reward for being a fan. And that should be what the shows are. The shows are the ones that are steeped in continuity. The movies are the big ones where it's like, whoa, look at Ant-Man, and he's mostly doing Ant-Man stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a tease in the mid credits, and maybe there's an undercurrent from an ongoing plot thread, like the Infinity Stones were before it. But for the most part, it should be about Ant-Man. And I actually I fault the problem as being Quantumania is mostly about Ant-Man. It's just also it's a very poorly made movie, and it's got like 3 different endings, and it has like inconsistencies, and the pacing's really off, and it's just a really disappointing movie. And I don't want to harp on Ant-Man.
I was gonna
so
say
much.
I disagree, but
I think Ant-Man just sucks. But like no Ant-Man Quantumania is what I'm talking about. I don't mean Ant-Man 1 and 2.
No. I mean, like, I disagree with what the problem is there, but good.
But yeah, like so I think that the point is, stop getting in the weeds with your own material. You have the blueprint, you have the system, and you know what works. And and then you change the game and then wonder why people don't want to play with you anymore.
That's true. I definitely feel as though there's also this level of, so hear me out here, because here's the thing. I want more. I always do.
I always want more.
But
Yeah,
I
no.
don't sometimes when we finally get it. But I feel like when earlier like before they were called phases,
yes,
back in phase 1, it was special when one of them came out because they weren't putting out as many throughout the year.
Exactly.
And so it became a community event to go to it, because the fact is, inevitably, like I have another coworker.
Yeah.
But he's an old school comic book fan. And so he still goes to see the movies. He's got kids, but he's at a point now, his kids are like getting more like older, right?
Yeah.
And but he's still at a point where he's just like, I'm not gonna go see it.
Right.
It's gonna be on streaming.
It'll be on streaming in a few weeks.
Why would I go see it?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna watch it in the comfort of my own home. But then you look at the fact of like Barbie, right? And that was because that was special.
Yeah.
If they were putting out like 5 Barbie movies in a year,
it would be a lot less special. Or if Barbie was coming and then it was going to spin into a Barbie show.
Yeah.
But it's funny. That is also hitting on something that I was thinking about, where it's like the shared community aspect of it. It used to be that the minority was people who went, oh, what do I have to watch in order to get into this movie? Right. And you just like collectively be like, ha ha ha, there's not much, or really, you didn't watch these movies when it made $1 billion. Right. Like where you were the one who didn't watch it.
Right.
But now it actually is a legitimate question, and it is a legitimate complaint, and it makes you look like you're the jackass when you're like, how could you not watch all of the shows, movies, and previous iterations of these things? It's like, yeah, no, that's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous expectation. But also, I'm not suggesting that like continuity is bad or that the previous movies need to be phased out, but like it really is about moderation, and it's about quality over quantity. It is about being like, if we're going to make a show, it's 1 show a year. If we're going to make a movie, it's maybe 2, and it's 2 different groups making movies, and they are not the same movie, and they are not directly connected, and they are going to appeal to a different group. Like that should be the blueprint.
Yeah.
It got, and then going further into the article, one of the other things that they brought up is the Blade factor. 2 years ago, they announced that Mahershala Ali, Oscar award-winning actor, is interested in being Blade. Guess what he is? He signed on to be in it. We got a logo and everything.
Yeah.
And 4 scripts for Blade, the movie from Marvel, despite the fact that you have 2 out of 3 Blade movies that people love, and an actor who would love to keep being Blade. So like you're working against yourself. And you also have a rock simple premise of Blade.
Right.
It is so simple, it's almost too simple. And yet 4 different iterations of the movie, the last of which, of course, and I think that was more editorialization from the Variety article. I don't really care for the implication of the article, which was like, it's led by a bunch of women and it's all about her feelings and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, you keep your editorialization to yourself. It's an article about information. The
point is that it's been how long, and there's still no Blade movie.
And it's strayed so far from what it was. It's like they're clearly not understanding their own purview.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, no, if you're making a Blade movie and it doesn't star Blade, you effed up. Or if Blade's the 4th lead. I mean, we have a Blade movie where Blade's the 4th lead. It's called Blade Trinity, and it is a guilty pleasure of mine that I love watching. It's so bad, it's good. I love watching underwear models pretend to be Dracula and then turn into friggin' Patrick Tatopoulos monsters. It's a delight.
Right.
And Ryan Reynolds is just Deadpooling all over the place. Sure. It's so fun. And I love Jessica Biel's iPod. Everything about that movie is friggin' hilarious. But I'm not here talking about and consuming and enjoying the Marvel Cinematic Universe to be delighted by how bad they are.
Right.
And whenever Marvel makes a bad movie, I am very not delighted. And it's not because I'm like, my bottom line. No, we could do way better if we were a rage bait channel. But I think that like when Marvel screws up, it's just sad. Like when they screw up, it's just like what a confusing mess.
No,
There's no Birdemics in this house.
No, I agree. I have like a few thoughts on Blade just in general, in terms of what's going on with that. One, like you said, it really shouldn't be that hard. Blade is based on mythology that has been around for centuries. It's not difficult to find examples of other stories, whether it be comics or otherwise, movies and shows having to do with vampires.
Right. Yeah, there's no shortage of media that
you're not really like approaching a topic that's never been put on
right
in movie format before.
Yeah.
You're just trying to find a new way to present it with a character. So like,
in fact,
but that to me says that you were trying to do something else with it, and that circles back around to Quantumania, because you said that's really an Ant-Man movie. I'm like, no, it's an Ant-Man movie that they attempted to be like, no, see, it's really about Ant-Man, but like we are forcing a topic, so that we can like progress our overall story.
Absolutely. But even
I'm
then, like
forcing us to deal with this specific part,
yes,
because I really, really, really need to get Kang working.
Right.
Which makes me worry that the reason Blade has been hooked up so much is they're uncomfortable doing a movie that could be so dark, potentially, because you're talking about a more supernatural and a horror side of the Marvel universe, right?
Oh, and I should point out that Deadline just reported before we started that Blade will be rated R.
Sure.
And if there's a script for that, I can't wait to read it, because you can't just say, oh, the movie's going to be rated R. What movie?
Yeah,
what story? What character? You have nothing. You can't just say it's rated R. That is nice, though. It gives them them some place to go. It's maybe a guideline, like, oh, I'll write an R-rated movie then.
Yeah. But
like, still,
but
that's
the
not
other
an
element to me is that it's like, what have you been trying to make Blade do? And now that Quantumania didn't do well, what are you trying to
unfix?
So here's the thing. Right. It's like, I simultaneously love the idea of like team movies. Like obviously Guardians really worked, right? You know, we kind of get dropped in with them, but
Guardians works as a trilogy.
Guardians works in terms of the fact that it's like, hi, we're the Guardians. We're not going to do an individual movie for each of these characters, because the fact is their character is the team. Yes. And then we get like little hits of all of them, right? The Avengers works in a different way, where we had to establish all those characters, right? I think partially that's why the Eternals didn't work so well.
Yeah.
I think also people were like, but you said we were all done. Who are these people?
Right.
So it's like, instead of worrying about furthering like your Kangs and your phases and all of that, like if you are like, we said goodbye to those Avengers and we need to start over again, then you need to keep doing individual stories that reintroduce us to these, or that allow us to meet these characters, fall in love with them, and then
want to see them interact.
Desperately want to see them like working together. Make us earn that.
Yeah.
Make us, the audience, earn seeing them together, seeing those interactions. Don't just give it to us.
It also sucks because like if you want to see the new Avengers, you could just watch the bootleg footage from those cruises where you can see Ms. Marvel, new Captain America, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, the Wasp, like they're all interacting. There's an Avengers movie just floating around in the open seas, and it sucks because first of all, it's about a cruise. Secondly, it's not earned, and it's not going to be in canon. And even if it was, what a gross, terrible idea that would be. But third, who cares?
Yeah.
And no one does. That's the other thing, is no one's like clamoring to get on that ship so they could see that like interaction, see those characters interacting with each other. You know, can you imagine if there was like, oh, they made some like short movie, you know, the shawarma scene from the end of Avengers. If immediately after the Avengers movie, it was announced that like, oh no, we shot a little scene of them talking to each other.
Right.
How badly people would have wanted in 2012 to see that.
Yeah.
More people would have seen the short of the Avengers just talking about the battle, post-battle, in their costumes, sitting around shawarma, than would see the Phoenix movie from Fox at that time.
Yeah.
I mean it. Like, more people would have seen that because they were so hyped about the interaction, and it stuck the landing. So like, we got to see all these characters, we got to fall in love with them, then we got to see them all in one movie together, and it worked. All of them worked. Even though some of them were hokier than others, even though some of them were, weren't as popular as others, they all worked largely. And there is something to be said for like that formula and how it works. And is it a formula, or is it just what happened? I don't know, but I also know that they didn't do it again, which is insane, because like Hollywood is obsessed with formulas and trying to set their watch to different to things like art, which are completely unpredictable.
Well, okay, and in addition, like I was just thinking someone like I mentioned Shang-Chi.
Yes, I love. Well, I love Shang-Chi.
I really loved it.
I loved it up until the last act.
I really enjoyed all of Shang-Chi. I
Mhm.
really truly did. But Shang-Chi was very much like, "Hi, we're meeting Shang-Chi."
Right.
And the world from
That was a straight up Marvel movie.
Just here it is. Here it is. And then they immediately like show him interacting
with
with
Wong.
holograms. Yeah.
Oh yeah, with the Avengers. He meets Captain Marvel, he meets Hulk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
And
I didn't earn that.
well, and
I didn't earn that.
And what? Like, and for what? No, we got him interacting with Wong, which on one hand was fun.
Right.
And it was actually was earned because Wong is in the movie more, and like he can introduce them to the Avengers. And that actually works.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, they really should have just, instead of like paying it off in another post-credit scene, essentially, they should have just had it where Wong was just setting up the Defenders. If you're gonna make him the Sorcerer Supreme,
right,
instead of Strange,
or if he's not going to be Sorcerer Supreme, if you eventually do pass the mantle,
or you could have just had Strange do it, or he's creating his secret Defenders and like he's just collecting people, but like they don't meet up. It's just like, hey, if we need you, just I mean, I know people will be like, that's so cliche.
Would have been a cute moment for him to get the Avengers ID card.
Like,
yeah,
who the hell cares?
Who cares?
That's what worked.
Yeah,
that's what worked. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think they've lost their way because they're partially doing what worked in phase 3 in the next, essentially phase 4. Wait, are we in phase 4?
We're in phase 5.
We're in phase 5. What was phase 4?
I don't know.
Cool. Phase 3 ended with Endgame though, correct?
Phase 3 ended, I think. Yeah, I don't recall. Endgame ended one of the phases.
Regardless, the phase in which Endgame ends,
I think that's the end of phase 3.
Right now, they're just attempting to just redo phase 3 over and over and over again.
Right, and it's like, whoa,
like, no, you can't just do that. You have to start back at phase 1.
DC screwed up so badly, publicly, and like colossally that it should have been your lesson. Like Justice League is when you try to repeat phase 3 over and over again. Is when you try to have try to put the cart before the horse. When you try to like hurry it up. I don't have time. Look. Like when we first announced it, yes, we said we're going to make a Cyborg movie and a Flash movie, but we're not. Okay, and if we do, they're going to be terrible and disappointing. You know, like it was already there. And then they were like, no, we need to show that we screwed up a bunch of times. Like we need to show how we can like overestimate the audience's tolerance and expectations, and we can also like greedily try and slap things together without earning them.
Yeah,
terrible. Okay. Yeah, no. Okay, technically, No Way Home is the end of phase 3. Whatever. Anyway,
okay. Well, here's the thing: for people following the MCU, yes. For everyone else, Endgame ended it.
Yeah, Endgame is the end. Far From Home was like a post-credit scene.
There's like a percentage of the audience who never went and saw the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, there is.
There is 100%. They're just like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, but it's interesting because statistically speaking, more people go see Spider-Man movies. Than go see
but that means
that
they didn't go see Endgame.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, or they did because they heard Spider-Man was in it.
Sure.
But Spider-Man's one of those movies, like where it's like Spider-Man is one of those projects, and it's one of those things. I was just thinking, to wrap up this, not to wrap up the topic, but to wrap up the article and the references to it. They also mentioned that there is rumor, and this has been community noted, where people are like, no, it is not confirmed, it is not official. But I'm sure that there are internal conversations about like bringing back Black Widow, Captain America, Tony Stark, and everybody else. And
listen,
you know,
there could be something there where it's like, oh, that's fun, right?
Well, obviously we were going to get them in Secret Wars, but I can imagine them being like, should we just take away the Marvel Universe from the characters that we invented over these phases and just right the ship with the original people?
Well, here's the thing about that. I feel like that's going to happen no matter what. Whenever they decide they're going to bring in the Fantastic Four or the X-Men, they're going to be like, hey, everybody, thanks so much for being here, but like the new hotness has arrived.
Yeah.
And we gotta clear the slate for them.
Well, I mean, why haven't they done that? Like, that's what's the most frustrating.
Haven't they done that?
Like, why not just do that? Like, why?
They seemingly, because I think that they thought that they could get more bites out of this apple.
Yeah, well, they're stupid because there is nothing that they have made that didn't already have a pre-existing franchise. No new franchise that they have brought forward to the table has the cachet or the potential of, you know, of juicing like the Fantastic Four or the X-Men.
Yeah.
Now, and I know that they're building towards the X-Men. We've spent 3 years of building, 4 years of building. It's been too effing long where they've been like, one day we're going to get to those X-Men.
But that's not building.
No, it's not. They haven't built anything. That's the
they're-
most frustrating thing is there has been no building. They said they've been building. No, they've been probably focus testing how to introduce the X-Men and where to start with the X-Men. But there's no script, there's no actors, there's nothing. The only thing is that Ms. Marvel's a mutant. And that we brought back Professor X in a disappointing Doctor Strange sequel. That is the bottom, the basement.
Yeah.
And also this Deadpool 3 movie, which I'm very excited about because I know it's going to be smaller scale, not in terms of in Deadpool, but it'll be the biggest Deadpool movie ever made, but in a smaller scale in terms of comparisons to its previous predecessors of Marvel.
Right.
And it'll be Fox focused. It'll be about Wolverine. It'll be about Deadpool. It'll be, I'm sure Cable will be involved in some way.
And again, that's like a similar issue to, or a similar situation to Guardians 3, where it's like the reason why that movie also is just good, from what I remember, from it having coming out 10 years ago, was the fact that James Gunn is involved with that. And even if it is Disney and Marvel's movie,
right? But it's James Gunn's vision.
Yeah, it's what he wants to do. And I think Ryan Reynolds has a lot of opinions about the movie he's in.
Yeah.
And so even if it ends up not being like the best movie, because like I Deadpool 2 had some moments for me.
I didn't care for Deadpool 2 as much as 1.
But I liked elements of it for sure.
Certainly.
But it felt
different.
No, I felt like it felt pretty much the same. Like
it had the same, different director too. And that's the problem.
Sure.
I've seen 2 other Sean Levy movies and they're not very good.
Right. But I was going to say, like, Ryan's ability to, keep consistent with what he wants to do and the tone makes him feel connected. And so no matter what, regardless of what umbrella this is now under, I think it's going to feel that connection because you have someone who's so connected to the story and the property and the character.
Right.
No,
yeah. I think that Deadpool 3 will feel the most like a Deadpool movie. I genuinely don't think that Deadpool 3 is going to do any forward momentum for the X-Men and the mutants, despite the fact that it is a straight up X-Men property. Like, I think that you'll hear the theme a lot. I think you'll hear references. I think the fact that you're getting Hugh Jackman in the red or yellow and blue suit is a fun Easter egg. I'm sure there'll be a couple other actors that can make him, but like, will there be any hard, foundational stuff being brought to the table? Like, are we going to establish where the mutants are coming from? Where, like, who they are? Any new actors who are playing any familiar X-Men? Where is it? And I can tell you with confidence, there's no script, there's no directors, there's no actors, there's nothing.
Here's what's interesting. Hear me out on this one.
Oh, please.
Here's a little thought experiment for you, right? And like, I'm not tinfoil hatting, because I don't think that anyone intentionally put themselves in the position that they're in right now, where they're not doing so well, right? Like, they're not, the things that they're producing are not being well received.
Right.
People aren't watching. People aren't going to see movies. But I feel like because of where they're at, which is not quite the bottom of the barrel, but they're down quite a few rungs, I would say, in terms of people's like receptiveness to their material. When they do decide to put out X-Men,
right, when X-Men finally gets here,
I feel like no matter what, it'll probably be well received.
I think
to some degree, like if they put in some, like, again, and not just like do like some sort of stunt garbage where it's like not tonally correct, but if they put any amount of effort into this, people are going to be like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, well, we're back.
They're still going to give it a hard time because it's not going to be like, well, that's not my,
oh yeah, sure, who cares?
X, whatever.
But by and large, the movie-going audience will be like, Marvel's back. I fear that the more crap they give us, the less likely that is. See, I'm always worried that, like, as a fan of niche content, that eventually we're going to outstay our welcome. That someone, our reach is going to exceed our grasp, that like the audience is going to go, you're making another Fantastic Four movie, but I heard those suck. And that's going to be or I'm not going to go see a Marvel movie. Those movies have been really boring and stupid. I'm really worried that, like, by the time we get to X-Men, and also part of the appeal of seeing the Fantastic Four and the X-Men in the MCU was seeing them set in this interconnected universe that they established. Part of the joy of seeing the X-Men, part of the like fervor around the like terrible and like problem-oriented acquisition of Fox by Disney was that people were going to see Iron Man and the X-Men,
Yeah.
or Spider-Man team up with Wolverine, or any number of of mismatched combos. Ooh, a flashback movie set in World War II of Captain America and Wolverine doing something. But no, you're never going to get that.
No.
And the longer you wait, the less likely it is, until all you have is this studio that makes, subpar content, who's like going to do another victory lap around your beloved franchise. And I'm worried that that's going to be the case. And I mean, these Variety articles, I'm thrilled because, number one, Variety is a real source. Number two, the fact that like these kinds of articles, even if it was like it was well written, but it also had its own particular bend. But it also sets a fire under their asses that says you are not invincible, you are not immune to criticism, and we noticed in a big bad way that like quality has diminished. It's not just box office numbers. I mean, we're talking about the Marvels coming out in 4 days.
Like fan,
it's not right. It's not just like a couple of ghost accounts and some bad YouTube channels. Like, it is by and large the audience saying, we're not happy with the level of quality you have delivered. We're getting the Marvels in 4 days. Projections are it's like doing worse than like the worst DC movie that came out in the last 5 years, like in terms of pre-ticket sales. And I'm concerned that like that is a result of the previous bad decisions and not what is indicative of quality for the Marvels. Because like, I'll be honest with you, I've been looking forward to this movie.
Yeah.
Ever since they introduced Ms. Marvel, I'm like, this is gonna be really fun. It's gonna be really fun to see them doing their thing.
Yeah.
And the trailers have been fun, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm genuinely looking forward to that movie in the same way that I was in more of a way than I was for Captain Marvel.
But you haven't pre-ordered tickets.
I don't need to.
I'm just saying, like,
right. But I don't have to. I was thinking about that, but I realized after looking at the numbers, I'm like, I don't have to. We can just stroll in on Friday or Thursday and watch it, and we don't have to worry about a thing. We got primo seats. We don't have to worry about it at all. But I am going to pre-order tickets because I am worried that we're not going to get dead center in the top couple of rows.
Okay.
But it's just like I'm looking forward to it. But I mean, like the word of mouth, and that does affect it more so than any other form of criticism. Word of mouth is the most powerful criticism you can possibly have for your art. And like the Marvels is going to be a casualty of that, and it's only going to be more indicative of the problems to come, because oh no, we have these 3 really fun characters, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Monica Rambeau doing her thing. I'm really looking forward to seeing Ms. Marvel doing her thing. But like, maybe that'll be market research for them to go, well, I guess we can't really focus on an X-Men movie starring Storm. And it's like, whoa, that's apples and oranges. Is it though? Because I just made a movie that was $250 million that stars 3 women.
Very different.
Right? It is different, but according to them, they're going to be looking at it from the same vantage point. That's my concern.
Very different.
I agree. No, a Storm movie overall would be dope, but a Storm like X-Men Gold
you get the
movie.
Right actress there.
Oh, I mean, come on.
They got to cast her right.
They got to cast everyone right. They got to get the X-Men working.
Saying.
Fantastic Four, they got to get it working. But also, like, with the Fantastic Four, like, the first Fantastic Four movie could end with, like, a tease to the Negative Zone and Annihilus, and suddenly you have a whole new Thanos threat that would be so fun to build towards with your multiple projects.
But that's
seeing
why
Spider-Man team up with the X-Men or the Fantastic Four would be fucking great.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That also got to my other point, which is, of course, like, the amount of money that you would need to chuck at a Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans return is so big that it's like it dwarfs the cost of some movies. And if you're going to spend like $1 billion on a Secret Wars or $2 billion, why not spend 4 and just buy Spider-Man back? Now you don't have to friggin' worry about it anymore.
Yeah,
like if you're talking about like putting absurd amounts of money into like different apple carts, like why not pick the one that is a sure thing? Because we know there's a price tag at Sony, and we know that character is the solution.
Right.
I think Fantastic Four and X-Men are the solution in terms of like what they have in their bullpen, but they clearly are unfocused and uninterested in exploring them in any severity. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, we did have a couple of strikes, and those have been like holding things up, but I genuinely don't think that we would have been any closer to an X-Men movie or a Wolverine movie or a Fantastic Four movie today if that strike had been solved 6 months ago.
No, I think actually Marvel would probably be in a worse position because it would have just plowed ahead with things and not had.
Like, here's your Kang stuff.
Not have a chance to go like, oh, maybe we need to rethink this,
right? And also, like, I don't know, I love these new characters. I mean, not that I love them. Like, man, I never give a crap about Iron Man as a kid, never, or Thor. But boy, oh boy, was I excited to see Iron Man and Thor interact in that Avengers movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really looking forward to seeing Iron Man / the Avengers interacted with the Guardians of the Galaxy when I saw Guardians 1.
Mhm.
I was really looking forward to seeing Spider-Man interact with these other characters when he was introduced. Like I was really looking forward to seeing Captain America interacting with any of these characters. Do I care about Anthony Mackie's Captain America meeting up with Shang-Chi? Like I want to see Kate Bishop more.
Now, see, I do wonder about that though, because I don't know if that's a result of the characters,
Or is it just fatigue?
or it's just the fact that it's like we've already seen it.
Yeah.
Or there, like I said, there hasn't been enough build.
No, it's true.
You know, because like Anthony Mackie's character, like his Captain America, is tied
directly to
what we already saw.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
he was
like,
there. He's been on all the stuff.
He's the new guard, but he's also the old guard.
Right. Yeah. No, it's true.
You know, Shang-Chi is a brand new to the universe,
right?
shiny and new.
So
right?
I guess Shang-Chi would have to team up with another new character like Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, or Ms. Marvel. But Ms. Marvel's teaming up with the characters that she's affiliated with.
Yes. Yes.
It's just, you know, we're in a weird place. But again, like there are solutions and they're obvious and you've done them already. But I'm glad that this article came out because I think it did light a fire under their ass because everyone's talking.
Well, you know
about
that it's not like they didn't see it.
Oh, they saw it before it came out.
It's like someone's TikTok. That's
No. They were sent that article beforehand, and they declined to comment.
Yeah.
In the article, there's like Kevin Feige declined to comment.
Someone had to like read that article with their like morning coffee before answering like way too many emails about this article.
Exactly, and that article circulated everywhere. And you know there were some people who, and there's also of course the problem of like, you know, all the terrible decisions, not just like creatively, but also business wise, like overworking your VFX artists and seeing that like they're going to start unionizing over at DC or at Disney. And I'm like, that's fantastic. If only, you know, covetously and greedily so that it reduces their output.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm very okay with them making one movie a year. I think that's a fair expectation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's even more fair because we used to wait 2 to 3 years for sequels. You know, for Spider-Man movies, I had to wait 2-3 years between Spider-Man movies. And one time it was really bad. You know, like there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know, but now it's like, here's a Marvel movie every year. And maybe you make one show. And again, I've pissed this a million times, but like you have these people under contract. If you still want to push your terrible $1 trillion streaming service that you're continuously increasing the price for every effing 6 months, then give me something that I want to watch. For example, you know, and we've pitched this a number of times, but I'll say it again for, you know, just because I really like this idea and I want to put it out in the world.
Let's do it.
Spider-Man movies. You know, and again, Disney doesn't have 100% control over those,
right,
but they make them. You know, Sony reaps the whirlwind for those. But like, you know, in terms of Spider-Man movies, he's a character where you can get away with this kind of thing.
Okay,
you make the movies; those are the big movies.
Okay.
Oh my God, he's fighting Venom, or you know, Mysterio.
Yeah.
You know, he's done that. Or you do Sinister Six, even though they did that, but they only fought 5. You know, but you do a big, oh my God, big tentpole Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's the lesson you took away from this is that like they need to cost $200 million and he has to fight the biggest goddamn thing in the universe. But Spider-Man is so appealing because of all the other stuff. Spider-Man is one of the best supporting casts in the universe, and most of that supporting cast doesn't have powers. Wouldn't it be wonderful to do like between the Spider-Man movies? You know, you have like a Spider-Man movie every 2 years, 2-3 years. Between those movies, you have the cast doing the supporting cast shit. Peter Parker is working for the Daily Bugle. He has and you take like the plot elements from old comics where that kind of shit was every day, where like you had 2/3 Peter Parker stuff and 1/3 Spider-Man stuff, and you just take the 2/3 and you put it into a show, and it's a 1 to 3 episode story arc,
right,
where Peter is doing XYZ, and that pushes your movie in terms of story plot from this movie to this movie. So like you can do a lot of like heavy lifting in these shows that advance the movie narratively from one place to another, so you can like have a clean slate more or less by the next full, you know, $200 million picture.
Right. But doesn't that fly in the face of what they seem to be doing, which is like the only reason that people are watching these shows is because some bomb will drop in those shows.
Well, sure,
that will drive forward the rest of the MCU.
No, but that's the thing, is it's not a bomb. It's just you're watching these characters interact and just get to act and do their thing.
Well, oh, you mean like you just watch a show because it's an enjoyable piece of media that, you know,
right?
allows
like,
you to watch people take on the roles of either imaginary characters or characters who they are not actually, and then stretch their acting muscles.
Right.
And, you know,
it's
let people write and do their craft.
Right. Yeah.
Do you
like,
mean that?
I do mean that.
Weird.
You know, like everybody, you know, every episode of Breaking Bad wasn't like the biggest episode in the universe. You know, there were every episode of any show that you love, House, you know, season mid seasons and post and end of season episodes were a big deal. But that's what you call the movies, you know.
Mhm.
But you can fill that in, and that could be a thing you could do. As that's one exploration of this extraneous thing that nobody asked for, aka Disney Plus, that could fill in that could still satisfy a gap if you so choose.
Mhm.
I still say though, throw it all out. Movies, that's it. You are a movie production company. Stop trying to learn how to make TV shows. Like you're clearly bad at it.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so you know it's a problem, and it's not a problem that's in any way serious or pressing. There's real actual problems in the world.
Yeah,
But you know, on our show we're not going to talk about Israel. So let's talk about Marvel.
Yeah.
So like in terms of this, I'm glad it's happening, and you know, this article came out, and I'm glad that it's like at least I'd love it if it just made them very uncomfortable and really like put them on blast, because now they're listening, they're paying attention, they're aware of it,
Mhm.
and we need to start writing. We need to at least put out the message
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
we're making changes, that we're making progress.
Yeah.
It's super important for them to show good faith.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, part of it, and they say it in the article, is that Feige is stretched too thin. That's like, of course he is.
Sure.
Because he's the executive producer in every thing they do, and he's
Yep.
actually and he actually does his job.
Yeah, instead of like just making the one, maybe 2 movies. Now
Mhm.
it's 3 movies and all these shows.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't it's like editors.
Yeah.
You can't give them like 20,000 projects
No.
and expect it all to be great.
To be as good. No. It's what is it? Cheap, easy, and quick?
quick. You can't have
You can't have all three.
You only
You can
have
have two. Cheap, easy, and quick.
You have cheap and easy.
Yep.
Or, you know,
Is it easy?
cheap,
Cheap, good,
fast,
cheap, fast.
Wait, what did you say?
I said cheap, easy, and fast.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Yeah, cheap, good, and fast.
Yeah, there you go.
It can be good and cheap.
Yeah.
But it can't be fast.
No. No.
You know, so yeah, it's an issue, but you know,
We got there.
but let's see what the audience has to say.
Sure.
Nadej Romulus, I don't know if you guys care, but Doom Portal finale season is coming out. I have no idea what that means. Hulkzilla, maybe someone working at Marvel Disney watches your Maestro phase pitch and gets some inspiration. I remember pitching that. As usual, I wish you guys the best. Thanks for all the entertainment. Thank you, Hulkzilla. Yeah, man, I would love to see Maestro. I think that's a great idea. But yeah, Silver Cricket, picking Kang feels like one of those, we need a name, just grab a name from the bucket choices. This is one of those things where I'm like, maybe dissolving the Marvel brain. Doom Patrol. Oh.
Google was like,
they made another
got
season.
you.
Thank you. That's exciting. Yeah, good for them.
I was like, Doom Portal, is that like the Doom Eternal video game? That's where my brain
I really
went
thought the same thing. I'm like, there's no way he
immediately
means Doom the
there.
game. But yeah, but maybe dissolving the Marvel brain trust of like comic book creators was a bad idea. Maybe you should hire people like Bendis and Matt Fraction and like Josh Williamson and other people who like know what they're doing and who are happy and available to talk to you about these things, and go and hear an idea and go, oh, that's not going to work.
And let me tell you why.
And let me tell you why, and let me show you the like 80 years of empirical data that supports that theory.
Yeah, let me help you to make better decisions based on
Based on-
failures of in the past.
Yeah, and our like direct influence over that material. Cat Lawyer, do you think it's a problem that we can't just recast characters now? Can Kang be recast? I don't care about Kang, but I don't like that. But I don't like this actor character dynamic. Yeah, well, for them, they're like, no, it is about the actor. For them, like, it's funny. It's actually ironic, or rather, it's coincidental. But it's funny that like people are pitching a fit in terms of like Scorsese's and Tarantino's, that Marvel is responsible for destroying the superstar, the super celebrity, the movie star. It's over. Nobody cares about the superstar. They care about the character they're playing. They care about Iron Man. And it's like, and the proof is in The Judge not making $1 billion because Robert Downey Jr. was in it. And it's like, that is so reductive and stupid. I can't even fathom an answer for you. But it's funny that Marvel is, according to Hollywood, responsible for destroying the celebrity, and Marvel being so desperate to make sure that a very well-known person is cast as the character. Like Ant-Man could be anybody, could have been anybody, and they're like, it's got to be Paul Rudd. Doctor Strange could literally be anybody. We could make a star out of this guy.
Yeah.
It's got to be Benedict Cumberbatch. He's so hot and cool, man. Have you seen Sherlock? He's so good. Like, and that's it. And then, of course, they're like, I'm a big star. I don't need to do this. Hi, I'm Hugo Weaving. Bye. Do a bad impression of me for the next movie. Bryce Harriet, hi. You guys are so good at interviews. Convinced me to keep up with Spurrier's Flash. Why is it always comics versus manga? I love both. I'm reading a lot. That's great.
Because people intrinsically like verses.
Yeah.
I've come, like, not everyone,
But a lot of people
but there
do.
is like a certain like collective mentality
Mhm.
that we want to be versus. I mean, look at sports.
Yeah.
Like, there's just something about that. People want to be on the winning team as opposed to just
being part of something special.
Yeah.
Marvel versus DC, Miles versus Peter.
Yeah.
You gotta have it all.
It's gotta be versus.
Nadej, Romulus. It's unfortunate how people tend to remember negative experiences over positive ones. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is still the best superhero movie this year, in my opinion.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it because you know what's also not helping me is how much I am trying to separate out the story from Guardians 3 and the Guardians video game.
Right? Oh my god, yeah.
Like, wait.
And that game was great too.
It was really good, and I think I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Mason Guerra, hi ComicPop, found prestige version of Vengeance of Bane the day you dropped the episode. Also, are you excited for Robin in the Batman or Brave and the Bold? I'm glad to hear that because I said in the episode that it was I think Josh told me, he was like, oh, I think it's like it came out prestige bound. I'm like, did it? Because I have 2 copies of it, but they're facsimile editions and they're not prestige. But I like to, but I don't have a copy of the original printing, so that's cool to know. Also, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Robin at some point. I'm one of those people who doesn't need a Robin in a Batman movie. Like, I was never excited for Robin as a kid. I liked Robin a lot as a kid, in the comics, I never needed him in the movies. I never needed that. I do not need that.
Like, I'm here to see Batman.
I'm here to see Batman. Well, I've always been waiting for like a couple of good Batman movies in a row, and it's like very hard to get that. Yeah, in terms of Brave and the Bold, obviously it's going to be Damian, so like, you know, who cares? But I'm sure it'll be fine. The Batman, again, because the Batman is like, you know, Matt Reeves being like, I only want to make like 1 or 2. Like, I don't know. Like, putting Robin in there, I'm like, all right, I guess that sounds fun. To what end? What's it going to be about? Tell me what the story is, and we'll see. The new Ethan just wanted to say thanks to you all. Really appreciate all the wonderful entertainment. No, thank you, new Ethan. I appreciate it. Bear Farmer bought a super chat, but it didn't show up. I didn't see it. I'm sorry. I'm just hoping Loki does a twisty twist where Loki becomes a Kang, and then Doom kills all the Kangs at the gathering, making Loki he who remains and having a Loki versus Doom war. That's a pitch. I mean, you know, I was worried that Loki was going to be a Kang, or not that. I was worried that Loki was going to be he who remains at the end of the first season. I was like, oh, good, it's somebody. Like, the Loki show is directly connected to the ongoing narrative. That's cool. But now that's a problem. I have no expectations or twists for Loki season 2. You know,
yeah,
that's not bad. I mean, like, Doom is where I want to go eventually. Thank you, Bear Farmer. Thanks for your support.
Thank you so much.
Cat Lawyer, as someone desperate for representation, can I just say how annoying it is the MCU decided to rest on their laurels immediately after Endgame? Huh. Yeah. I mean, you know, that being said, you know, there are a bunch of characters that are like indicative of representation. We have Shang-Chi, we have Ms. Marvel. You know, there are a number of characters that have been introduced as a result. I mean, Awkwafina's character in Shang-Chi, I think she's fantastic, and I would look forward to seeing her. Echo. And that's another thing. We saw the Echo trailer. That show looks friggin' dope. And I think it's amazing because I think Marvel's like, this show sucks. Let's just put out all the episodes on Hulu and Disney Plus and call it a friggin' day. Drop it in January and move on. And yet it'll be probably the best thing they make that year.
They might actually be doing that on purpose because maybe they're testing to see which is better to trickle out or just
dump it all.
Let them binge. Because like for them, I have a feeling. I wonder what their drop off rate is like after a show drops. It might just be like someone has it and they don't think about it for a while. But with like Netflix, you might purchase a subscription for a bit and then I don't know. Well,
exactly.
I don't know. I don't have any metrics on that, so I have no idea. Anyway.
Yeah. Cam, no other studio makes just one kind of movie. After Endgame, the MCU should have used that goodwill to make actual genre flicks with interesting creators, not just the same product 7 times a year. I think they thought they were doing that. I genuinely think they were thinking. I think they thought that they were trying, because Feige kept talking about it. He kept towing the line of being like, there's no more phases. Not everyone has to go see everything we make. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. And then it ended up being homogenous and kind of samey. But I think like She-Hulk versus friggin' Shang-Chi versus Black Panther versus, like, you know, these are all different movies and shows, and they had different tones.
The shows did it better.
Yeah.
And I think when the shows didn't get the reaction or the Disney Plus subscriptions that they wanted, they gave up on it.
Exactly.
Because it's like, if you look at WandaVision, if you look at Winter Soldier, Was it Winter Soldier? Was that what it's called?
Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah, thank you. And like Werewolf by Night.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
genre.
Right.
For sure.
Strongly.
Anyway.
Kingsport Cal, I seen you and Omar saw each other. Yep, from Near Mint. Are you going to do back issues with him? If he comes to New Jersey, maybe. I'm going to break out my flannel. I didn't know it was time. ComicPop for life. Yep, it's getting chillier.
Oh yeah, and it's dark outside.
Yeah,
so it's like...
and I wear flannel all the time anyway. Silver Cricket, do you think they should adapt the new universe? I think they should have called the new Ultimate Universe the new universe, because I think Ultimate whatever the hell is not the Ultimate Universe, and it's, maybe it'll become that one day. I think that seems to be what the narrative is driving towards with Ultimate Universe #1, which we won't have time to talk about today. But
apparently not. I mean, like, we could just do a rapid fire.
Yeah, we could. Rami Darwish, I guess the question is, the movies targeting comic book fans or a wider audience? Oppenheimer proved that people still want to go to the movies.
I think the Barbenheimer effect proved that people wanted to go to the movies for sure. And I think...
I don't think they ever really tried to target the comic book audience. I think they just figured, well, what we own here from the comic books has a wider appeal than people expect. And so let's get moviegoers to go see them.
Yeah, I do think though that the deeper they started to go, and the more they were like, well, everything you got to see it all. You got to, what I mean, like trying to tap into that desire for, there is an element, admittedly, of nerd culture to be in the know.
Yes.
And to be like the person who saw all of it. I think they thought that had more power than it does.
Mm-hmm.
I think people came to realize that they had a significant like less amount of time.
Yeah.
Or the most important resource.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't do it.
Yeah. Harishi Venkatesh, in my opinion, the biggest problem with the MCU is it feels very focus grouped. To hell, Ragnarok wouldn't exist if they cancel Thor after Dark World. Make Eternals 2 and renew Ms. Marvel. Yeah, I mean, knock yourselves out, man. He also says, as Kamala fan, I want my girl done justice. Well, she, I think, had a really great... there's some part of that show that really worked. And then there's other elements that just straight up didn't. I think putting the clandestine in there was probably the worst decision you could possibly make. And it looked ugly, and it was just, it eventually just fell apart. But
there's a lot that worked.
There's a lot that did work,
especially with
mostly character work.
Yeah, like her family.
Yeah.
Just really good.
Exactly.
Good stuff.
But yeah, it does feel. I mean, Ragnarok is great. Love and Thunder, not so much. CJ Hall, ComicPop Woo, Halloween back issues were fire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Gotham City Critics. It is nuts that they did Kang over Doom for Big Bad. I think they were just like, we're not ready for a Fantastic Four movie yet, which is insane to think about.
They're like, but he was the bad guy in one of those Marvel Lego games. People appreciated that. How can it fail?
Yeah, those games sold like hotcakes. Come on, man.
I don't think that's a real thing.
No. ComicPop Woo, kind of a rough week. Thank you all for providing content and kindness to provide some levity. Much love. Love to you, man. Thank you very
I hope
much.
things get better.
Same. Dante Cook, I love everything about Captain Marvel, but I'm so done with Marvel overall. I could care so little about the movies, TV shows, and comics. That's sad because I do love several Marvel heroes, but I'm exhausted. Well, then I think that's a good time to just hop off and only selectively enjoy what you have. I say the comics. It's certainly a little cheaper, but then you can only focus on like one or two books.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not so bad. Thanks for your super chat and thank you for support.
That.
Talking about books really quick.
Hang on, I'm going to go first.
Okay, please do.
I read Doctor Strange #9 this week. Jed McKay and Pascal Ferry.
Yep.
Listen, the two Doctor Stranges fight each other.
Oh, no.
And,
Oh, yeah, the general.
Yeah, and Clea fights her, like, baby sister.
Oh.
Who hasn't been born yet. And magic ensues, and Strange is like, oh, no. Like, I'm like, you're not going to die. We just killed you. So I know that's it. But it's still good. I'm still enjoying it. You get two Strangers for the price of one.
That's pretty sweet.
Good stuff there.
All right.
I also read X-Men #28 this week. That is by Jerry Duggan, with art by Josh Cassara. This is a great issue. They're like, hey, we got to deal with the firestorm of it all.
Yep.
Firestar.
They're wrapping that up?
Yeah. Also, Firestorm was in this.
Oh, jeez.
So, like,
why?
Yeah, they're clearly like, hey, listen, like, we don't know what's gonna happen. Let's not wrapping it up, but like,
addressing it.
She clearly, like, some mutants know that she's working
for Orcus.
No, she's working.
Or she's
with
not
them.
really.
Yeah,
oh,
that she's like, not really a traitor.
Ah.
Like, she and Cyclops have a really nice moment in this which she's like, the narration is like, they were both in the Scouts, and so when she's like, trying to convince him to go to trial or whatever. She's like touching him, and when she's touching him, it's Morse code to let him know what she's up to.
That's cool.
They get the Juggernaut out. We see that Firestorm, I believe it is, went after Redroot. Remember that happened like after he left the X-Men? Yeah. They're like, hey, let's wrap that up.
Let's wrap that up.
And I'm like, cool. Not wrap it up, but like let's not forget that that's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, awesome, great stuff.
Right. Totally
enjoyed it. I read the Supergirl special by Mariko Tamaki with art by Skylar Partridge. This is a really fun it's just a one issue thing. It's a one and done. It's an examination of the character, especially in conjunction
in a post Tom King world.
Oh yeah, but really in conjunction with Power Girl being there and the idea that these two Sunfire. Thank you.
Too
many fire
based
characters. Jeez me.
Mm-hmm.
But this issue really is like, hey, Power Girl's here and Supergirl's here, and don't they kind of have the same abilities?
Aren't they the same people?
And that too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an examination of that and how she's dealing with it, and it's not necessarily great, and it kind of does go a little bit into not like the way that the Tom King book went into it, but talking a little bit of her past and like how she doesn't remember certain parts of it, and she tries to do that. It's an interesting examination. I really like Tamaki's voice for her. I just enjoyed this issue overall. I feel like there was another book I read from Marvel this week. I couldn't tell you what it was.
It's right here on the screen.
Oh, it is. Look at that. There it is. I read. It's Jeff. Friggin' Kelly Thompson, Hero. Read is a strong word. There's not a lot.
Enjoyed it.
I enjoyed this. I really did. This was just, sometimes you just need a little break. You're having a rough week. Pick up It's Jeff. It's just a series of short stories. If there's if you have a young reader in your life, get them It's Jeff. Because first of all, it's going to do a couple of things. One, if you're like, you have a family, you got, a kid who's looking to maybe you want to get them into comics. This is a great way to share some time with them, right? If not, if it's not just that, it's a great opportunity to get them interested in comics because it teaches them how to read comics.
Yes.
Because it's not something we all know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking cute.
Right.
Really liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Just good stuff. Just adorable, great little vignettes, and I just want more.
Yeah. Well, I read the Return of Superman 30th Anniversary Special. This is too big to really get into with the time we have, but I should say that this is an original comic book. It's full of a bunch of stories. They are, of course, harkening back to the reign of Superman period, or the reign of the Superman period, or the return of Superman, where a simpler time when there were only 4 or 5 Supermen running around. But yeah, this is these are all original stories from some of your favorite creators, including William Simonson and Victor Bogdanov working together again. Wow. It's a really cool, fun exploration of that time period, and seeing some of these folks like Dan Jurgens, Jerry Ordway, and and Carl Kessel and company are all just able to tell new, fun, original stories about reference points that are more than 30 years old now. 30 years.
Cool.
Jesus. And finally, Ultimate Universe #1 from Jonathan Hickman with art by Stefano Caselli. This is a one-shot that introduces you to the Ultimate Universe, but not that Ultimate Universe. If you didn't read Ultimate Invasion, which most of you didn't, which I don't blame you for because it was too expensive. So was this. But this also introduces you to this world in a post-Maker setting.
Yeah.
It doesn't do a very good job of explaining the hierarchy and the bureaucracy that was introduced in Ultimate Invasion, where it's like, these are the players, because all you really do is see them, but you don't really get the idea behind it. But
sure.
The idea is that Maker kind of set up a kind of bureaucratic Machiavellian world where these characters, it's metatextual. They're talking about of course they're talking about engineering events, but so they literally do that where certain characters, certain countries will be the bad guy. And so that's a big issue. But this isn't really about that. Thankfully, this is all just about watching the team, so to speak, that being the new Doctor Doom, who I believe is this universe's Reed Richards or not, Iron Lad, who is, of course, Tony Stark, going to Asgard and freeing Thor. And then they do that. And hooray. And we see the difference of new Ultimate Thor, of course. I need to stress this enough. The original Ultimate Universe, the one you love, the one that they want you to think this is the designation of 1610. This Ultimate Universe is called 6160. It is a different universe. It is not the world the Maker went to in the symbiote suit from Donny Cates. It is not the world that Bendis references that Spider-Man Peter Parker and Spider-Woman Jessica Drew are on the Ultimates for at the end of Spider-Man 2. This is a different universe created by the Maker in the main universe. Now it's over here at 6160. Maker engineered it and created a whole host of new crap that makes it very interesting and very unique, but also prevented a bunch of heroes from mucking up his plans. And what did he do with those engineering elements, like the radioactive spider that would bite Peter Parker? Put him in a locker somewhere under lock and key, and then left them there for you to go get. And so the team is like, we're going to get Thor, and then we're going to steal all this crap, and we're going to make this universe the way it's supposed to be.
Because a whole bunch of those canisters.
That's right. And so they fail, and they only get like some of them.
They get one.
They do.
They get one.
They get one before the whole damn building is destroyed by a space laser, which the Illuminati, so to speak, blame on Iron Man or Iron Lad Tony Stark. And a number of characters are killed in this explosion, not up to and including Norman Osborn and May Parker. So a bunch, and there's names across the floor.
I missed the May Parker one. I saw Norman and
his wife.
Yeah.
No, Aunt May is effing lasered. And so we'll see.
When's Mephisto going to show up and take marriage?
Yeah, well, we got to establish the marriage first, which of course we will in Ultimate Spider-Man #1.
Sure. For me, this was interesting because I only read the first of the was it Ultimatum?
Ultimate
Invasion, whatever it was.
Yeah,
same sounds in my head. So for me, I think I had a different read on this issue, and I was like, "Ooh,
it's exciting and refreshing."
It is exciting, and I was like, "This is a little bit of a mystery here," even though I know that it's already been answered, a lot of it, because it was in there.
It was in a 4-issue mini.
All of that, you're gonna have a very different read than someone like Sal who read the other.
Yes, it was night and day comparatively. Ultimate Invasion is a snooze fest. This issue was fun and good, and I enjoyed it. I also prefer Stefano Caselli's art to Brian Hitch at this point.
Fair.
So that was also a welcome change.
Fair.
And yeah, it was a fun idea. I think that they should call it the New Universe, which of course is a throwback. It was referenced in our super chats, I believe. But the New Universe was also, that was where like Starbrand and Nightmask and other characters come from. And it was also a colossal commercial failure. So I thought it was like, that'd be kind of cool, do that. But yeah, so this is a completely different, unfamiliar universe that will make no references outside of costume designs to the original 1610 universe. So don't think that this is like, where are we going to pay off that X-Men stuff? In fact, there's a little preview of Peach Momoko's X-Men, which will of course star Armor, and will probably mostly take place in Japan. And it is very different. And it's just given, they were just like, we have no plan. Clearly Hickman was like, I already did my X-Men stuff. I want nothing to do with it. Peach, knock yourself out. Do whatever the hell you want.
Loved it. It's also hinted at in the main Hickman story, because we go over a couple of news things from all over the world, and one of which was clearly the Armor story.
Yes, exactly.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm in.
So that's another one. So the Ultimate Universe is going to begin with a number of books, including Black Panther. And they set these up. They set up like the new Black Panther, which is going to feel like a Dune novel. We're going to get the new Spider-Man, new X-Men, and more. So if you're interested in getting in the ground floor, you can read this issue. I don't think there's going to be any more after this. So knock yourself out and enjoy it. I think I did too. So great. There you go. There are books that are coming out this week that we think you should check out. Obviously, I am not going to be recommending Amazing Spider-Man 37 because Rack Rap is on the cover and it's like they don't respect me and it's like a big middle finger. But I will suggest you check out Transformers #2 from Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. OMFG, yay. Any Daniel Warren Johnson book is a must pick up. Though I did say that it does feel very much more like the original Transformers G1 from the animated series. If you missed out on Last Ronin last time, you should check out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin reissue #1. This is a reissue of the first issue from the fantastic Last Ronin series. It is a reprint of all 5 issues of the Last Ronin miniseries, so you can just pick up the whole damn thing. Boom, there it is. And check it out, because this will also get you on the ground floor for the upcoming video game, The Last Ronin, and the sequel, which is also coming out.
I'm going back over the list now. Sorry.
Oh, sure. Shazam number 5. Shazam is coming out, and I find this book to be a delight. Not the least of which being the reasons of Dan Moore and Mark Waid. Birds of Prey number 3. If you have not already picked up this series, I highly recommend you go pick up Birds of Prey numbers 1 and 2, and then you can decide if you want to see Birds of Prey number 3. The Birds of Prey, and they do not resemble the Birds of Prey, but I think you'll be excited to see people like Zealot and Big Barda and Cassie Batgirl invading Themyscira. Definitely go check out this series. It is a delight. The art is fantastic. And of course, there's more to come. David Pepos' brand new Punisher is coming out. You can always check that out. I will be reading at least the first issue, and we'll see how that goes. Art by Dave Watcher. This is a brand new character, brand new Punisher. We're going to see what is to come for this character and how and if it will affect Frank Castle in the future.
Are you done? Was that the Sal's done, or is Sal still reading?
Well, I'm not talking.
Oh, okay. I don't know. You could be. You didn't transition. Oh gosh. What's happening? X-Force number 46 is coming out. We're dealing with, is this the All Colossus channel right now?
Yeah.
For this issue.
Good.
I'm like,
let's end that story.
Let's fix this up. I feel like Colossus is going to be in a bad way post this, but you know what? Like that, if he is, that means that they're doing the character correctly, because he would definitely feel bad about this for sure. That's Ben Percy writing that, Robert Gill on art. X-Men Red number 17. Freaking, I really like this book. I love that, like, it is intrinsically tied to what is going on with the Fall of X, but also its totally own thing. We're dealing with Storm, Genesis, just these two powerhouses, and we're just waiting for that, like, freaking Ensabanur shoe size thing to drop.
Yes.
It's a big shoe.
It is a big shoe.
It's going to be a
big blue shoe.
And he's been working on stuff. He's
been busy. What he doing?
He's been popping in. Yeah, what he doing? What's Apocalypse doing?
Yes.
Is the big question. God's number 2. You know I'm going to read this.
I'm looking forward to it as well. I loved the first issue, so I can't wait to see it. $5, by the way. Not nearly as bad. Of course, they're only 28 pages, but yeah, we're back. We're back to like a sensibly priced book. And when I say sensibly, of course, I mean it with a foot in sarcasm, because books are too expensive.
Yeah, they are. It's Hickman and Skeety on this. Yeah. For sure. It's definitely more pricey, and I don't know why, but whatever. I can't help myself. And I know I guess he knows that too.
Right.
Uncanny Spider-Man number 3 is coming out. Cy Spurrier, Lee Garbett. I love this book.
It's a fun book.
So much fun. I'm really, really enjoying it. Here's a book I totally forgot about, so I got to go back and read a whole bunch of it. But Phantom Road number 6. It's Jeff Lemire and Gabriel Walta.
Yes, good old Gabriel Walta.
Yeah, amazing. Great stuff. Really, really enjoy this. I just didn't know what this was. I wanted to look at what it was.
Okay. Yeah, I've not. Oh, that's right. I did hear about this, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
and,
but if you're a Thanos fan, there's a new Thanos book dropping, written by Chris Cantwell. So.
Yes, Chris Cantwell's getting a Thanos book. You should definitely check that out. I like Chris Cantwell. He's great. And of course, we have more super chats really quick before we are off. RPG. Speaking of Mark Waid, any chance of an irredeemable back issues? Absolutely not. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you guys next week with another episode. Thanks to our super chatters for sponsoring today's show. If you want more, there's so much more here at Comic Pop. You can always subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@ComicPop Plays, or follow on twitch.tv/ComicPop. Tiffany is playing Spider-Man 2 on YouTube for the foreseeable future. But once Spider-Man's over, I assume you're going to go back to Twitch, because Twitch is our home. But we are doing quite. We're enjoying that format, so go check that out. You can check out the first at least 4 streams of Spider-Man. Plus, in between those streams, we're also dropping your previous plays of Gotham Knights. After which,
finish that game.
That's fine. Who cares? No one else did either.
I just couldn't get into it.
But you did finish Midnight Suns, and we have all 32 parts of the Midnight Suns saga on the channel. They will be coming out periodically over the next 10 years, so be sure to watch that as well. And of course, if you want more, subscribe to this channel, like the video, and go to youtube.com/ComicPop. If you want to see more, Back Issues this week is already teased, and if you haven't already seen our community tab, make sure to follow along there, so you can check out our more of our stuff over there as well, because of course, social media is a barren wasteland of entropy. And we'll see you guys next week with another episode. I'm Sal.
Activity.
So long, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.